We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast. And today is going to be the best podcast ever. And I do mean ever. And I've done thousands of podcasts, but this one is going to be the coolest, like the coolest of all cool. Have any of you ever, this is going to be funny. Any of you ever gone 62 years not realizing something was really important, and then all of a sudden one day you realize how important it is, and you realize how terrible you are at something that's really important? Have any of you ever experienced that?
Yes.
You're an old soul, Nora.
like, interesting. I said, Nora, have you ever gone 62 years?
Yeah, I heard you. Nobody else is going to say yes, so I was like, I'll say yes.
So this is why I never miss any coffee connections. And this last coffee connection was no different. And then what's even more cool about it is the after. So we did a debrief afterwards. And Nora, like it was pretty, so that was Saturday morning. Friday night was pretty rough. Lincoln not feeling well, and Nora doing what great moms do and taking care of him. And so she was pretty exhausted. And I was surprised that she even showed up for Coffee Connection. And then I wasn't expecting that she would show up for the debrief, because I don't know, she's running on 2-3 hours of sleep. So I'm not expecting her to do that. And she did. And at the end of the 30-minute review, I'm like, Nora, I don't, why are you here? And Nora, what did you say?
Because we're a team.
She's like, because we're a team. And I was overwhelmed. I'm like, okay. I'm like, have you ever been part of a team like that? And when she was 14 years old, she shared a story about when she was 14 years old. And I have a feeling, a sense that that this story is not going to have a significant impact on each of you as it did on me. This is the third time I'm hearing this story. But the first time I heard the story, I'm like, you got to be kidding. So Nora, share your story about when you were 14.
Okay, so first, I'm going to pick on Mary, just because. So, Mary, have you ever been a part of something or working or whatever, and somebody didn't show up for whatever reason? How did that affect you?
You mean like a part of anything?
Yeah, okay, so let's say, just for the sake of everybody here, Jemima wouldn't have showed up yesterday. How would that have affected your day?
Woohoo!
No, I wouldn't have cheered.
Would it have?
Well, it wouldn't have affected my day as much as it would if it was like on a Monday or a Friday.
Okay, so let's pick a Monday.
Oh, it would have been chaotic because I would have had my things to do and her things to do.
Right.
So it would have caused chaos.
So we went ahead and had a podcast earlier, and there was a young guy, I think he was 22 or 24 years old. and I asked him, I said, have you ever, his name's David. I said, David, have you ever had a situation in your life where somebody didn't show up and it hurt you significantly, where you had to work harder or you got buried or something like that? And he said, no. So not only for Mary, for all of you, have you ever had a situation where you were part of a team and somebody didn't show up and it just absolutely hurt you and other people around you?
I have.
Nice. Nice.
So when do you guys, you obviously know how that feels. Not the greatest. So let's say you're the person not showing up. Do you feel the weight of the decision to not show up? That do you feel the weight that that's creating by you not being there? Or is it like, well, other people do it, so I guess I can do it too?
Well, no, you try and do things to help that person out, whether you're there or not. You try to make that person or whoever's involved have a better day if you're not there by doing things that you can do on your end.
Or you're finally they get to feel what I feel every day.
Which is what?
Overwhelmed.
So Nora, tell your story of when you were 14. So imagine being a 14-year-old girl. Okay. So imagine being a 14-year-old girl and you have your first job outside of your home. Nora, share that story.
Yeah, so when I was 14, started a job as a busser at the Blue Gate. And, it's like summer, it's busy, there's like over an hour wait, and it's like your partner just doesn't show up. And it like throws the whole, like you worked with somebody and you both had like your roles, like you're bussing tables, and it's like, you got to get on it fast, you got to do it quick, you got to be fast and efficient. And so you have your flow. Like I do this, you do this, and it like we're not like bumping into each other, like it's everything flows. Well, when your partner doesn't show up, it just like throws everything off. Like you're like just everything. Like you're so scattered. Like cuz you don't know it just throws everything off.
That touched me very deeply. Like how she said it. I'm like, why are you here? And she's like, because we're a team. And it was like a tidal wave hit me and said, Mark, you don't know how to build teams. So my parents, my mom said, she said, a number of times, she said, and as she was in her 70s, she said, Dad wanted to build independent children. And sometimes I wonder if we did too good of a job on it. Like, I think all of us probably could have, survived at 12 years old on our own. Seriously, we knew how to work and save money and, work and save money and drive things. Like we could have been orphans. Probably would have been fine. So the good part of that is teaching massive independence. But like my parents, we didn't have friends like as a family. Like we didn't have any friends as a family, neighbors or nobody. Like it was just, so I never got exposed to building a team. And my siblings, I have 5, brothers and sisters, and like we're not close. Like it's just all of us independent. Like, and so I thought back when I was in high school and I said, did that ever happen to me? Now I never worked as a as a server or a busser. I've never worked in a restaurant, but I know it can move fast and there's a lot of things. And so I can envision what Nora's facing. And so what she faced was different than what I faced, but I faced that same type of thing, but I had a different approach to it because I was in a different situation. And what I would do is when somebody wouldn't show up, I would just do 2 people's work or 3. And I'd just take their jobs. I'd be just like, great opportunity to show how. Like, I looked at it as a challenge, but you can't
Sorry,
really
I gotta
probably
hop
do,
off. I gotta go get Malachi. He's not feeling good at school, so I gotta go get him.
so, you can't really do that. You can't really do that in a lot of roles. And so I never learned how to build teams. Now, we've had 22 employees and I've, coffee connection. But what's been missing all these years that I didn't realize until that coffee connection and then that debrief afterwards, I realized Nora looks at things that she's a part of very different than most human beings do. And I didn't, so Nora and I have been working together, I think it's been 9 months now. And I didn't understand the difference until, like, she's not feeling good. She's like sleep deprived, everything else. It's no big deal, but she's still there. Why? Because we're a team. And then I realized, well, there's other people who weren't running on 3 hours sleep. There's other people that didn't show up. And so why? Because they don't look at what is being done like Nora does. So they don't know. They're ignorant. They've never been taught. And so you know how the passion circle, and so you can do one for your company. So you take a big piece of paper, put it on the wall, draw a circle and say, what are we passionate about as a company in serving our clients? And you do that, and then you create a team passion circle. Like, how do we as a team want to go ahead and service our clients? And you do that as a team. You take that same process, though, and you say, what does being on this team mean to me, to us? I've never done that. Never even thought of it. Never realized. I just thought, I don't know. They'll be as committed as I am. And if they're not, well, they probably won't be. But that's okay. I'll just pick up the slack. Questions, thoughts?
Yeah, when you're the one left to pull it all, it's a different feeling than. But sometimes you are more understanding as to why they're missing sometimes. Mine seems to have froze.
If you're having to pull it all, you're more understanding of why other people.
Well, like Nora's was in a restaurant, but I was running a retail outlet in my late 20s, probably. On Mother's Day weekend, a women's store, and had the entire staff decide they were going to take Mother's Day off because they were women. So I ran the whole store until people could get from other drive in from several hours away. And it's a different feeling. If they had been sick, I probably wouldn't have been as upset with some of them.
So now I'm faced with, my own inadequacies. Like, I've never realized that before. Mark, you don't know how to build teams. You know how to build systems and tools and people that work together, but that doesn't make a team. It's different. Because if people looked at it as a team, but they're not, they're individual units, but they're not coming together. They're doing their own thing. They're running their own show. So they're gaining the benefit of the team. They're gaining the benefits of being part of the team, but maybe they're not taking on the responsibilities that are part of the team. So 10% of the team often does 90% of the work. Why is that? Because it's allowed. So everyone watching this podcast and your Manage Up and Out, like, what do you think of this? Like, be deep in your thought process. And then go ahead and say, do you think you're more of a taker or a giver? My guess is you're going to think that you're more of a giver because that's what people think. But are you? And then so any one of you can interrupt me at any time. What flashes to my mind is when I was a teenage boy and my dad would ask, some of the men of the church, my dad was a pastor, and he'd ask some of the men, are you coming tonight to the church service? And they'd say, no, it's family night. And my dad was like emasculated. He just said, okay. I'm like, and I didn't say this because I didn't want to be disrespectful, or I don't know who am I to say it? I'm like 14, 15 years old. But I'm like, I wanted to ask the guy, like, what are you doing tomorrow night? Like, hey, what are you doing tomorrow night? And I had a good idea what he was doing tomorrow night, and he was watching Monday Night Football. I'm like, well, why? Yeah, I'm watching Monday Night Football. Well, why don't you have a family night then? Why don't you come to church tonight, and why don't you have a family night tomorrow? And so as a teenage boy, I'm like, people come up with excuses. It's fascinating to me. They come up with reasons. They come up with reasons. They come up with excuses. They come up with, this is why I'm not able to do something. They don't tell the truth. It's not a high enough priority. And so anything we don't get to is because it's not a high enough priority. We don't know. People will say, well, I know what I need to do. I'm just not doing it. Actually, the truth is anything we're not doing that we know that we should be doing, there's one of three reasons. We don't know the true benefit of doing it. We don't know the true cost of not doing it, or we don't have the knowledge to understand bandwidth-wise, how do we get it all done? So you can always tell when somebody's in any one of those situations, like people will tell you how busy they are. That's a person that's not trying to figure out. Somebody, listen, Mark, I've got this and this and this, and I'm trying to get this in, but can you help me? That's somebody who wants to do it. But somebody else is going to explain why they're not able to do it. Somebody is explaining why they're not able to do it. What they're doing is teaching their brain to come up with excuses, and they won't ever be able to do it. If somebody said, well, Mark, do you think that person's addicted to lazy? I'm like, I don't know. Read the Addicted to Lazy white paper. You make the determination for yourself first and foremost, and then for other people. And so I think the first assignment, will anybody do it? I don't know. Like, do you want to be part of a team? Do you want to be part of a team? Do you want to just take all the benefits and give as little as you possibly can? Or do you want to give far, far more than you get? That's where you're going to have your confidence from. When you give far, far more than you ever receive. So the first is to go ahead and put up on the wall a circle and say, like, what does it mean to be part of our team? And or what are the responsibilities? So what does it mean? What's the responsibilities? So it's Wednesday. This happened on Saturday. And it's like, I can change this quick. I think I know how to change it. It's like, and so people are quick to see when other people, like Nora's question is very, do you go ahead and step up when you're not feeling when you're doing this, and you do what you need to do to make sure you don't let somebody down? Or what Nora's experienced with other people is they will go ahead and tend to say, well, somebody did it to me, so I'm going to do it to them. And so the thing is, what's fascinating is that 10% of the people that produce 90% of the work for the team, those individuals, they have strong self-confidence, strong self-worth. They tend not to have depression. They only have positive stress. Mental health is very strong. But the 90%, depending where you're at in the 90%, they're going to go ahead and they're going to have struggles mental health wise. They're going to have struggle with depressions and confidence and a whole bunch of things because they're producing far less than they're consuming. They're consuming more than they're producing. And that's for each one of us to decide. Like my grandfather said when I was 8 years old, Mark, when somebody says something to you, there's some amount of truth. It could be 1% or 99% or something in between. It's not up to them to decide what that is, Mark. 8 years old. It's up to you to decide what percentage of truth there is and then what you're going to do about it. Change my life forever. So are we looking for significant things? Because to be significant, we were all created to be significant, something absolutely amazing, something that's just crazy cool. That's what we were created to be. But to become what we were created to be, we've got to do things. We have to do things that are significant. We can't talk significant. We have to do significant. So Nora, thank you for teaching me, helping to reveal something that I'm pathetic at and have been for 62 years. I love discovering where I have deep, deep flaws. And so if we're not like that, we have them whether or not we see them. And so next podcast, we might talk about symptoms versus, the core. When the problem isn't the problem, what is the problem? Like we often are lazy. We're not diligent in figuring out the core. We continue to solve symptoms. We mow the dandelions and say, okay, the lawn looks great, but we're not solving anything at the core. It's just symptom. Anybody else have anything else? So talk to your Action Vision coach about this podcast and where you can find it on Life GPS. And then you can go in and you can click on that you went ahead and watched it because you participated live. And then you can manage up and out. And there's some really neat things that as a team, if we're all doing certain things together like this is an experience together, and we all manage up and out on that. What do we think about it? What do we learn? What action are we going to take? What are we going to take next? When we all start doing something communal, something as a group, like one thing a week as a group, it'll change like everything. If you're listening to the rebroadcast of this, you have any questions, connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300 outside the U.S. 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.